Congratulations. So obviously lots of the show is about kind of family chaos. Sort of a two-part question. Is there anything from the show that's resonated with your own life? And also, is there anything from your own life that you think would fit into the show in the future?
The chaos is, yes. My parents, I hope they don't mind me saying this, but that whenever I think, are we a bit too hysterical at the pitch we get to with our rowing, me and Jim Howick, who plays Paul, I then go home and to my parents' house and spend a bit of time with them and quickly realise it's really accurate. So, certainly that's the case in the home I grew up in. So, and I think there's a lot of comic value in that. When you know people really well and you can be absolutely vicious with them, but you obviously still love them very much. And yes, and so to your second part of your question, I think I take that into the show because that's what I've grown up around.
So I just wanted to ask, when you're making something like this, how do you choose what to include and what to cut out when you're speaking to obviously a very young audience, but also hearing from like very young participants and trying to balance telling their stories and also not just like outright terrifying the audience?
Well, there's no rule book. Every case is different. You're probably looking at about 100 years of expertise on this stage at the moment. I personally started on Newsround with John Craven in 1989, and he always said that there is no subject that you can't tackle in some way for children. And actually, the more awful it is, the more you have a right to upset children. And that's kind of what I've always gone by. Of course, we have, as I say, a huge amount of expertise in making sure that we don't put the wrong stuff on. And of course, it goes through compliance and editorial policy and all the rest of it. But we are pretty experienced. And I was pretty determined, as I think Matt was as well, as a fellow programme maker, that we would upset the audience a little bit on this occasion, and that they needed to be upset a bit. And that's adults as well, actually, because it's adults that we need to get at as well.
Hi,
Hello.
Congratulations. I was really interested in the choice of visual effects in the show, sort of with the words coming up on screen. I've done some work before about sort of making subtitles for deaf and hard of hearing viewers. And I was really interested, how did that come about, the choice to sort of have the sounds of the words transforming into the words? It's a really interesting choice.
We work really hard on that, literally always before we edit it, make it work. And Kat wrote it in. So basically, when I got the script, she written the way the subtitles came out, and that's what interests me, because sometimes with lip reading, people think, you can see from a distance. I can understand everything. It didn't work like that. And Kat.
We were trying to show the internal process of lip readers because, I'm a lip reader, and I think that you're really being a detective as a lip reader because you're taking the visible shapes of lip reading, which is only really about 30 to 40%, and you're putting it together with what you can make out from the context you're in, what you know about the person, and putting it together as a big puzzle. So the evolving subtitles were meant to show Alison's internal process of kind of working out what's being said, and to show people how hard lip reading is, that it's not just a magic thing that you just watch it and you the words kind of appear in your mind like a book. It's actually really hard work.
And Dominus and Chanya is our director, and they worked really hard to make that visually, to put the paper on visually, so it was a challenge, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah, I think it was, it's always a challenge. I guess it was part of the interest was trying to make the viewer have to really focus on the screen and to try and, I guess that same thing we asked ourselves all the time was, will someone want to lip read and will someone want to follow it? And that's kind of what we wanted to do, was to almost play the detective. So it was kind of a process that took quite a while actually to try and experiment, talking with Rose and Kat, to try and kind of make that a kind of a visual thing that could follow along. So it evolved over time.
Congratulations. I wanted to ask, obviously there's a lot of very sort of like tongue-in-cheek, self-aware stuff in the show. Has anyone ever come up to you and said, hey, was that inspired by me?
Oh yeah,
All the time.
all the time, very much so.
And
Yeah.
also, a lot of people claim that things were inspired by them that were not. So that's been interesting.
Yes. There's actually almost like an inverse ratio where, like, if we did base it on you, you don't realize it, and if we didn't, you think we did, which is nice.
Obviously, with a massive in-person live event like this, there are, I'm sure, a lot of logistical challenges that come up. What was the most challenging aspect of putting this together and filming it?
The timeline. Yeah. I was going to say we had, I think probably about 10 weeks.
Yeah.
From start to finish. And we were on Horse Girls Parade, which, 10 weeks sounds like a long time, but when you think of just the infrastructure that has to be built, the permissions, we're on Horse Girls Parade, and the London Marathon was there up until just a few days before.
10 days.
Yeah, it was, so it was the logistics more than anything that made it so difficult.
Also, you're in an environment which is, you've got to coordinate the police, the DCMS. It's not just a studio, which is a much more simplistic environment. There were loads of different elements all at the same time.
So I think this is right, that this is the 12th win you've had had at the awards. What do you think keeps the show succeeding? What's keeps people engaged?
What keeps the show succeeding? I mean, fresh ideas, but also looking at the legacy of the programme. 40 years of amazing stories and amazing characters. We've got the best writing team in the business who just come every single month with ways to keep the show fresh. The way, Di just mentioned the Six and that storyline. So good and original, push the show forward. We've got, we just did a flash forward for our New Year's Day episode last year to keep the audience guessing. So I think it's about getting that balance of looking at the legacy, getting the past, but also stories that are making the show feel modern and relevant today.